There's something nobody tells you about awakening. Sometimes after all the seeking, all the shedding, all the revelations, you wake up and then you can't get out of bed. Not because you're tired, but because it seems nothing matters anymore. You've touched something real and vast, but now you're moving through fog, no motivation, no clarity, no interest in building the life you once dreamed of. If this is you, it doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're in the in-between, and that too is part of the path after awakening. In the video, we'll look at this fog after awakening, why it's so common, but rarely talked about, what the phase means psychologically, spiritually, and energetically, how thinkers like Jung and Eckhart Tolle and Ram Dass explained this collapse of the ego drive, what actually begins to emerge once the dust settles, and how to move through this phase without panic, but with grace. So let's begin by understanding what awakening really is and what it's not. Awakening happens at any age, and sometimes not in one lifetime. Despite of how it is sometimes portrayed, awakening is rarely sudden. It's a slow erosion, a long unlearning, a series of internal deaths. There are bright moments, crystalline moments, when the veil lifts and you see clearly. But for most, those moments come after years of inner friction or a life that had a lot of longing for this. And when awakening finally happens, it feels like something has been broken open and a profound stillness moves in. The old survival scripts fall silent, and you might feel free for a brief time and weightless and real. But so often then something strange happens. Instead of the clarity expanding, it begins to dissolve and ambition disappears. Your desires flatten. Even your joy becomes quiet. And this is where many get confused. Carl Jung called this encounter with the unconscious enantiodromia. This is the phenomena where things turn into their opposites. After ecstasy, the dust. After divine union, disorientation. So you first feel the interconnectedness with all of life, beyond your name, your job, your stories. But then comes the void. The ego is cracked open. The self you thought you were dissolves. But the deeper self hasn't fully emerged yet. So you're left in a liminal space. You can call it fog. This is not depression, though it can mimic it. It's not laziness. It often looks like this from the outside. It is your psyche protecting you during this reconfiguration. In awakening, the personality, what we call the ego, has just eclipsed. Its motivations, ambitions, and preferences lose meaning. You are not driven anymore by the same carrots on same sticks. This is where many get confused, because the loss of the egoic drive doesn't feel like peace. It feels like losing your appetite for life. But how you should see this numbness or lack of motivation, is to see it as sacred. It's the soul's way of ensuring that you don't run back to the old life too quickly. In this time, you are not only confronted with your own psyche, with your own unconscious, with your own shadow. This confrontation with your unconscious is not just with your personal unconscious, but the vast collective elements of the psyche that you have denied or forgotten before you were awakened. So now in this phase, you ask yourself, who am I now? Because I'm not who I was. See this fog as a cocoon where you become still and your deeper layers of self, the true self, begins to stir. It is a sacred time. What is revealed in this time is that awakening is not about getting more, but becoming less. You become less entangled, less reactive, less attached to you thought you had to be. But in this, something will begin to emerge, often slowly, and it can be painful. So you get the confusion, then the quiet, and then you get glimpses of the real self. It's something ancient. It's not motivated by fear or ambition. It is a self that leads you with deep resonance. The old goals will no longer interest you, and social masks will feel hollow. That's normal. Even the spiritual path you walked before awakening may seem contrived. Wait, listen, and unlearn in these moments. Eckhart Tolle speaks of this phase when the ego dissolves and for a time it seems there is nothing left. He described how he was sitting on park benches for years, not knowing who he was anymore, but completely at peace. First we get the numbness. Ram Dass called it the plateau, where the ecstatic high levels out and integration begins. So what is on the other side of this fog? Clarity, yes. But it's not clarity like that sharp-edged clarity of ambition. It's quieter and rounder. You begin to move from essence, not effort. Your motivations change. You no longer seek to impress, to prove, or to win. You begin to respond rather than react. You speak less, but say more. You create not to be seen, but because creation moves through you. Most importantly, you stop needing to be someone and start simply being. This is the return to the self. And unlike the ego, which is built, the self is revealed. It doesn't strive, it remembers. Remember, I always tell you, everything is already inside of you. You are already whole. You are already worthy. This is what you start to see when the fog disappears. So if you are in the fog experiencing it now, here's what you need to know. Don't rush it. Speed is the ego's language, and stillness is the language of the true self. Don't try to go back. There's nothing for you in old structures, and also don't fear that you will go back. Feel everything, even the flatness, even the silence, especially the silence. And let this new voice of you grow. It will be subtle at first because it's intuition, instinct, resonance. Move with it. Be present. Make space for the small moments. Walk. Be in nature. Journal without purpose. Let the rhythm emerges from inside of you. The fog will lift, not when you try to push against it or fight it, but when the new self is ready to see through it. So awakening is not a prize you win, it's a dismantling. And the fog that follows is not failure, it's a chrysalis. So if you feel disorientated, if you feel if your fire has gone out, nothing moves in you the way it used to be, that's okay. You're not lost. You're being reformed. You're becoming true. Stay there a little bit longer, and what will emerge will be real. and aligned with your true, authentic, higher self. Let me know in the comments how you resonated, if you're experiencing this or have experienced that. If you like the content of the channel, please consider subscribing. I will really appreciate it. With that, I'm sending you my infinite love till I speak to you again in the next video. Goodbye.